Hi everyone, a warm welcome to all of you for this next edition of our webinar series. I'm Linsa and I'll be your host today. Today we are talking about something every services team has faced at some point on how to keep projects on track both in team or draining your margins. So today we'll walk you through 4 practical tips to help you deliver with confidence and keep your clients happy. All right, so while we wait for everyone to settle in, let me lay down the agenda. We'll start with quick introductions, both of our speakers as well as of our sponsor, Nimble Work. We'll dive into the main session, followed by an interactive Q&A. Some housekeeping, the session is being recorded and we'll send you the recording post the webinar. So there's a Q&A box in the Zoom panel. So please make sure that you have, if you have any questions, feedback, or if you want to say anything to us, just put it in that box and we'll take them up post the session. All right, so let me introduce our speakers for today. First up, Mano Cherian. He's our VP of Business Development. Mano works closely with our customers to help them deliver projects on time, stay profitable, and scale with confidence. Joining him is Mahesh Singh. He is our co-founder and CMO. He's the driving force behind our marketing and overall strategy. He's a recognized fellow by Kanban University and a Kanban coach. All right, a quick shout out to our sponsor. This webinar is brought to you by Nimble Work. We have been helping teams manage projects better for more than 20 years. We are a web-based project and work management solutions, and we have more than 1 million users worldwide. We are based out of Cupertino, California, and have offices in Europe and in India. If you'd like to learn more about us, just head over to nimblework.com. All right. So the Nimble's all-in-one platform supports the entire spectrum of work management, from project planning and execution to daily task coordination and strategic oversight. With powerful capabilities across project management, resource management, and work management, Nimble helps teams streamline workflows, balance workloads, and align execution with business goals. Whether you're using agile, hybrid, or traditional approaches, Nimble adapts on how your team works best. So these are some of our customers. We are proud to support teams of all sizes, small startups to large enterprises with thousands of users. We help them stay on track and every step of the way. All right, so let's dive into the main session. Over to you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Linda.
Stop sharing.
Thank you. And Manu, are you going to share your screen? Yeah, okay. Hey, everyone. Great to have everyone in this session today. Nice to see a nice size audience join. Hopefully gives an indication that we are covering topics that are relevant and that are a challenge for many organizations, where solutions that we provide or the solution that we have learned through our own customers use of different best practices and processes which have helped them to become great at project delivery. That these lessons are valuable to this audience, and that's why we continue to bring out these bi-weekly or weekly webinars that help project-driven organizations, I would say, and work management knowledge work-based organizations. So, Mano, today we're going to discuss something which is perhaps your day-to-day existence, right? How you help customers and how we learn from them is based on a lot of the work that you do. Why projects struggle to stay within budget and scale? Age-old question. It's been probably 20 plus years or maybe even longer that the Standish Group published its chaos report and talked about how and why projects failed and why organizations were unable to deliver projects successfully. So here is some examples of and some data points on why we feel that this topic is relevant even today in the age of agile and in the age of AI, where there are so many tools available to project teams and project managers. Yet projects, continue to struggle. And as you can see here, some very high numbers, some of them uh, not very old numbers at all. So staggering 91% of projects exceed their budget schedule of both. And I think in the case of in the context of our understanding of the agile project delivery, we already know that projects exceeding budgets or schedule perhaps is not necessarily a indication of failure. It is the expectation of stakeholders and customers in terms of what they will get when and at what cost. That is where Agile has helped to adjust the expectations, adjust mindsets, and therefore, in a way, redefine project success and failure. And this statistic, but 34% of organizations consistently deliver projects on time. Now, uh, projects are, of course, all over the place. They can be large and complex projects or simple releases and sprints that software teams do, which are 2 week, 3 week, project cycles or delivery cycles. And depending on the context, you can have a very hard milestone or a hard plan that then a organization might exceed in terms of delivery. But by and large, we've seen that projects and organizations that follow the agile method, we ourselves are a good example of that, I would say, are able to deliver value regularly on time. Yet overall, if we see, it is 34% of organizations that they'll do this consistently. Others struggle. And we got some, common issues sort of listed here. Mano, I don't know if you want to talk about one or two of these. Of course, we'll dive into some of the detail, some of the uh, specific ones in detail. But any specific thoughts here based on the typical common problems that teams face?
So one of the common problem that the teams face is related to communication and alignment to what has been committed to the customer. Now, you will have this misalignment within the project teams. You will have this misalignment even with the customer team. So hence, it is of paramount importance to make sure that you are able to involve your customers in your delivery life cycle. That is what Agile also propagates. But it is very important to have them involved in your life cycle to make sure that you have proper alignment in terms of what is of high priority to the customer. See, end of the day, if you're able to deliver projects successfully as per customer expectations, you will find that in most cases, such projects are on schedule and they are within the budget because they have been prioritized appropriately, planned appropriately, and executed appropriately. Like you mentioned over here, risk management is something that we have seen many teams ignore. Of lately, of all the engagements where we have been working, one of the first frameworks that gets implemented is related to risk management and giving that visibility to senior stakeholders, so that they're able to ascertain whether the risks that has been identified, is it going to cause a great impact to the project in the near future. And if that is so, then they are able to take appropriate steps to make sure that it gets mitigated well ahead of time. We have seen and we have heard from our customers in many cases, the risk has been logged. It has never been reviewed. It is there in the system. It is there in the log. It occurs. And when it occurs, it has a significant impact on cost. It has a significant impact on on the overall schedule, and it also has a significant impact on your relationship with the customer. So risk and communication, all of these are common issues. All of these are issues that needs to be addressed. But what we have seen that has been coming from the field is aspects that are related to communication and aspects that are related to risks are of paramount importance.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I guess one of the tenets of Agile is about continuous collaboration and communication, and ensuring that there is a common set of expectations between the delivery side and the customer. One of the things that we have seen, and I think this is what we're going to talk about, there are 3 or 4 points that we're going to cover in today's session. One of the things that we've seen is that organizations are very inconsistent in the way they adapt and use their best practices and processes across projects. The consistency of how they, use standards for, project planning, estimation. You talked about risk management, etc. So if you go on to the next slide, you'll see we talk about some of this in terms of the ability of organizations to really adapt and learn from their own experience. Besides, of course, the experience of their peers, industry recommendations and norms and so forth. But I think we've seen this very often that companies do many projects very well, I would say. And the challenge for them is that they are not able to replicate some of the things that they did in those projects effectively across all projects, so that other projects would also benefit from the sort of good practices that led to some of the projects succeeding. Correct. So, for example, we've seen our customers adapt a wide range of best practices, not just project plans, but documentation, document templates, workflow templates, standard metrics, even some of the basics like the kind of resources that they assign to projects, a certain way of doing so. All of these go into sort of recreating or replicating the project success that they may experience in their successful projects. So what are your thoughts on what can companies do to standardize and therefore achieve greater scale?
Yeah. So, Mahesh, you have touched a very important point over here. So we are working with a very large organization which has multiple teams across the globe, starting from Japan to all the way to California. They have resources teams across the globe. They execute different types of projects. At any point of time, they have in excess of 30,000 projects running within their organization. So just look at the scale at which they're operating, and just look at the challenge they will have in identifying projects that are going well and projects that are not going well from a real-time visibility and from a realistic perspective. So what they did is they embarked on a journey which said that whether I'm running a project in Japan or Singapore or in India or in Europe or in US, we have to give the same experience to our customers, to all our customers. All our customers are the same, and we have to give them the same experience. And the way in which they started doing that is they created a framework. So it could be any type of projects, different types of engagements. It may be following waterfall, it may be maintenance. So different types of projects, but they created a framework where they said that when I'm initiating the project, the way I plan to execute the project, the way I define my key milestones, because milestones invariably, whether it is a fixed price or a T&M, invariably can get aligned to a revenue. And the way I will define my deliverables, that is going to be a common framework. So all the projects across the globe, so there are multiple scenarios where the project is completely under the control of the customer, scenarios where the project is partially controlled by the customer. So there are multiple scenarios. But irrespective of the scenario, all the project teams have a common framework based on which they deliver their commitments to the customer. And that commitment is based on a common framework wherein which they define the way in which they want to execute the project, the key milestones, and the key deliverables. So what it has brought into the organization is a best practice driven, a well-defined methodology wherein which they, at the initial stage of the projects, they are able to make some commitments, and that commitments is being tracked very stringently. And as a result, you do not have an experience where a customer in Japan or a customer in California is going to have a different way in which he sees the plan or he sees the commitments which has been put down by this customer. So that is where we have seen, it is to that extent, we have seen organizations realizing, yes, there has to be flexibility among teams, different customers work differently, all that is perfectly fine. But when you are delivering a project, there are two key stakeholders who are involved. One is your customer, and it is very important for you to keep your customer have a good experience, because that will then really result in long-term relationships. That will result in better trust and so on and so forth. So you have, irrespective of the type of project and the model you're following, you have to keep your customer on board and keep them happy. And then you also have to keep your internal objectives. You have to meet it, because your internal objectives of the organization is to make profits. Now, if you are delivering well to the customer, but if it is at the expense of profits, it is going to hurt the organization. If you are meeting the profitability objective and you're not delivering well to the customer, then you're in for a short-term relationship with that specific customer. So keeping this in mind, we have seen organizations bringing in some consistent, best practice-driven common frameworks that can be used across project teams. And as a result of that, there is predictability in the outcome. You are sure that the customer is not going to face this issue. The customer is not going to have surprises, because I do have a common methodology or a common framework in place. Now, how do you implement this? Now, enforcing it is definitely not a good word to use over here, but how do you implement this? So it can be implemented through a system. And one of the key aspects of that system is, for it to be successful, is the system should, or the tool should, cover the end-to-end life cycle of the project. Now we have seen, and that is where we have been able to onboard a lot of customers. We have seen organizations following different tools for different phases of the for the project, or for different types of projects. So when you're working in such in an environment where there are multiple touch points and they are not connected well, whether they're disfragmented, they are not working in a cohesive manner, then you will have definitely the challenge of institutionalizing the best practice across all your teams. And the objective of doing this is to make sure that the customers have a good experience, a common experience, and the needs of the internal stakeholders in terms of making the deliverables well, making it of high quality, taking care of your profit margins, all of that is being met. So what we so hence it is very important that all of this, if it can be in one system, it makes it much easier to implement. So what does it mean? It means that every project that is getting created in the system gets created from a best practice. So let me just try to create a project over here. So every project that is getting created, depending on the nature of the project, the type of the project, is basically getting created from a best practice template. And within this best practice template, so you can see that there are multiple templates here. You can choose any one of them. Within this best practice template, all the successful processes and the successful practices gets implemented, and then it flows down to all the projects. So let me just give you, in interest of time, just quickly give you a couple of the examples by by what I mean that it is going to be a best practice. So say for example, let me just take you to just a couple of projects over here. So say for example, the first aspect that you can do is you can make sure that the templates that is being used for capturing data to a certain extent is standardized. The process that needs to be followed to work on a specific template to a certain extent can be standardized, and where you want to make it fluid or where you want to make it flexible, you will be able to make it flexible. And the type of reports, the alerts, the escalations, the notifications also follow a common standard framework. So what it then means is even if a new project manager is onboarded to the organization, he is able to operate within this best practice framework, and he is able to ensure that it is being executed and tracked effectively, thereby ensuring that you're able to give consistency across your project methodology. The second aspect, which I just quickly want to highlight over here before we move on to the next part, is you will also be able to standardize the way in which certain project needs to be planned. Certain projects, how do you define the deliverables? Certain projects, how do you define the milestones? So you will be able to create a structure by just putting in the common elements, the best practice elements in terms of what are the various stages, what are the various tasks, what are the various milestones, what are the various deliverables that are applicable. And when a project gets created, that flows into the project. So you have two projects, one may be being executed in Germany, the other one getting executed in India. Two different projects of the same organization is getting executed using a common framework. And thereby you're able to ensure that from an organization perspective, you're able to give consistent experience to all your customers. Over to you, Mahesh.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that this is the second part that we're going to talk about. I just wanted to again ask the audience, and in case there are any specific things that resonate with you in this session, I'd love to hear from you. So please do feel free to share some of your own experiences, and if you'd like to talk about them, we can certainly share that on this session live as well. Yeah, so going in line with the consistency of customer experience is the huge challenge that we talked about up front, and Mano, you referred to that earlier as well, about communication and collaboration. How do you ensure that everybody's on the same page at all times? This is probably one of the biggest challenges that companies that have not yet solved in terms of having a sort of standard environment in which to share what's going on in the project, or to be able to communicate
Mahesh, Lindsay, you're able to hear Mahesh?
No, Manu.
I
I
think
think he's facing some network issues.
Yes, Mahesh, you're there? Mahesh, you're there?
I think he's joining back. He'll just join back.
Okay.
Yes,
We'll
he's
just
back.
give it a minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
just give it a minute.
Apologies, folks. In spite of being in the middle of the Silicon Valley, we have internet issues, which is very, very frustrating. All right, apologies for that. So what I was saying is that if you do not have a as simple or as sophisticated as you want to make it, process and a system that allows you to track what is going on in a project and be able to keep clients and stakeholders in the loop in order to make sure that on the one hand, they're aware of what's going on in the project, and on the other hand, if there are changes coming up, that they are able to let their teams know what's changing in the project environment is critical to how projects succeed or fail. And we've seen this time and times multiple times that we have uh, teams that are depending on what is easily sort of understood to be outdated mechanism of communication, emails and offline messages and documents without version control being shared and people looking for the latest version of a document, right? So how do you ensure that you're keeping everybody in loop at all times? Requires not just a system, not just a platform or a communication platform alone, but also a underlying set of processes and practices that let people understand that each stage of the project there is certain things that need to be planned and communicated, and that if there are changes to that, then those are also managed at all times. As the stat says here, 70% of project failures are tied to communication breakdown. This has come from PMI itself. And this is something that we've seen time and again, that you see people being surprised multiple times, saying, hey, why did nobody tell me about this? And then somebody else might respond to that saying, I just told you this last week. I sent you an email last week or last month. In fact, we had one of our marketing teams prepare a video exactly on this problem. People look for, or people sort of forget to look for the right updates at the right time, or completely miss them in the deluge of other communication that they're getting. And therefore, you need something which is specific to running a project successfully, that you need to be able to track all of the status changes, etc. So, Mano, we have some help available here through Nimble, right? You want to talk about that?
Yes, we have some help available. And again, see what we are hearing in the, especially in the last 1 or 2 years across our customer base is, it is quite difficult to implement, but we have seen customers seriously taking steps towards that journey. Is let's involve the customer and let's develop it together along with the customer. Now, when they make this statement, there are some terminologies which they use. They use terminologies like let's build it together, let's deliver it together. So these are some terminologies which they use. Now, the objective over here is not that the customer is involved in the development cycle. The objective over here is the customer is involved in the decision-making cycle very early in the game, rather than towards the end when you make the deliverable to the customer. So for a customer to make decision, he needs to have the required information in terms of what is happening in that project. And when he has access to that, then he is able to facilitate better decision making. And we have seen what it results is the customer is involved throughout the delivery cycle, and it involves unpleasant surprises towards the end of the project cycle. So how do you do this? There are multiple, obviously you can give access to the customers to whatever application you're using. And the customer can take a look at it. He may be able to make some meaningful assessments or decisions, or he may not be able to make. But what we are saying here is, if you give visibility to the customer in terms of the way I'm going to make this, way I'm going to work on this specific requirement, and what is the progress of this specific requirement, if you're able to give that visibility to the customer, then you are able to have meaningful discussions, and you're also able to take help from the customer when it comes to taking the appropriate decisions. So there are two perspectives that I want to show here very quickly. The first one is, what if the customer gives you a high-level requirement, and during the requirement discussion process, so that it may happen through a workshop or it may happen virtually. But during the requirement discussion process, what if you're giving visibility to the customer through a visual paradigm in terms of how the requirements are going to get delivered? What are the various components that needs to be developed? What are the subcomponents? And then how many of them are in the backlog? How many of them are planned in the near release that is going to start probably next week or the week after that? And how many of them has been delivered, as you can see over here. So it is a very simple interface, but the customer gets to know the requirement of how to implement an action bot, how you're going to develop it, how you're going to deliver it. And when this visibility is given to the customer, then he's able to get involved very early in the decision making cycle. He gets a feel that he's involved in the project, and that basically builds a lot of trust, a lot of confidence, and it gives you the flexibility that is required to handle certain uncertainties that comes in during the course of the project. So this is the first one of the visualizations. Now let me talk about another visualization. So you're working with a customer. There are a lot of, maybe a 10-month project. There are a lot of work items that needs to be delivered. But what if on a very regular periodic basis, it could be on a weekly basis, it could be on you can decide that frequency. But what if you're able to show, or the customer is able to infer, what is a percentage of work that has been completed across the various streams I have given to this particular customer? So you can see that these are all the various work streams. So you can see that the scope item was 588. How many has been completed? These are the core work streams. Which work stream has received a lot of attention? Which work stream is lagging behind? And if this particular work stream is lagging behind, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to prioritize? If you're able to give this visualization to the customer, it again fosters a much better collaboration and a much better communication. And it also helps your teams to ensure that the right work item has been prioritized in the coming or the future releases. Now, one information which we always do not like to convey to the customer upfront is a bad news. And that bad news could typically be in the form of a delay, in the form of issues in the delivery, and so on and so forth, or in the form of changes that you're not able to accept, and so on and so forth. There could be many such information, information which you don't want to give it to the customer at the right time. But what if you have an ability where the problem here is it is not getting communicated ahead of time. It always gets communicated at the last moment. But what if you have an ability where you're able to tell your customer that, okay, I was supposed to complete this on this date. As of date, I've only completed so much. And then if I continue at this pace, I'm going to deliver this on December 19th. Okay, now that is a shocking news for the customer. But what if you're able to show to the customer that where are my blockers and what I need? And then your discussion is going to be, your communication and your collaboration is going to be more meaningful in terms of, how do I avoid that blocker? Do I deprioritize it? Do I take another approach? And all of this is happening very much early in the life cycle, not towards the end or 1 week before when the customer is expecting you to deliver. So this again fosters a very good communication, better collaboration, and it results in trust. And it also triggers the customer to take a decision that will help him and that will also help you and your team. So these are various aspects, and all of this is possible only if, like I mentioned to you before, it is end to end. You can bring in data and things like that, but you are having visibility on what is on all the data elements of the of a particular project or a services engagement or a customer engagement in one system. And then finally, going on to just one point, which Mahesh highlighted, and that is extremely important. More and more, we are seeing that customers are exposing their execution dashboards from the application. They are not sending, offline reports. They are giving visibility to the customer through the system. So it could be a different page with limited access. All that is fine. But at any point of time, the customer is able to log in, is able to see the inflow, is able to see the red items. He or you may be running multiple projects for him, and still you're able to give him or her visibility through a single integrated dashboard or cockpit. That also adds a lot of value. So it is not only that it is going to satisfy your customer point of contact, but it is also going to satisfy the key stakeholders within the customer ecosystem, because they're able to get an integrated real-time insight on how projects or on how engagements are progressing. So that is why having a framework, there are a lot of trainings that are being provided on how to manage customer expectations and so on and so forth. All that is really good, but having a framework where the customer is able to see what is really happening to his piece of work, he's able to identify the bottlenecks, he's able to jointly discuss with you and resolve those bottlenecks, and he's able to get a realistic insight on how the engagement is progressing, adds significantly to bringing the projects on schedule and also helping you to execute the project within the budget that has been committed. Okay, Mahesh, any points, or shall I move on to the next slide?
No, I think, yeah, this is good. Let's keep going, because I realize that we are also going to be running short of time.
Yeah.
So, okay, now here is another problem that is significant, I think. And I think if you look at any research on why projects fail, having the right people available at the right time, in the right numbers, etc., is one of the biggest reasons why projects fail. Now, project management systems can't solve some of the inherent challenges that organizations might have in terms of not having enough people or enough resources. But the bigger challenge that we have seen our customers face, especially when you are in even a mid-sized company, but certainly in large organizations, is that you don't have sufficient visibility to your people and other resources. So the challenge is more of ensuring that you know who are the people available, who are the people who would be ideal for a particular project. Can they be assigned to a particular project in the time that they're needed to be, and so on and so forth, right? So one of the biggest things that systems that support projects need to be able to solve is to ensure that there are adequate time and heads up available to plan for the right resources to be available at the right time. And once they've been assigned, how do you make sure that you're tracking the work that's being done and any support that is needed from a billing and budgeting perspective, that those are provided to the right systems? We don't necessarily have to have everything in one system. And in fact, many companies already use sophisticated, financial and budgeting systems and billing systems, etc., especially in the IT services and professional services environment. But providing them the right input to ensure that there is accurate tracking of work being done, accurate billing being done, any missed milestones and bills being notified to the right people, so on and so on. These are all some of the challenges that companies face, leading to a lot of revenue leakage, right, or at least delays. I think we have many solutions here, and Mano, I think you worked with many customers to firstly to ensure that there is right resource availability, and we have, I think, capabilities around that. You want to talk about that?
Yes. So just before I touch upon this point, so we just mentioned that any project has two key stakeholders. One is the customer to whom the project is being delivered, and the other one is your internal stakeholders. The customer primarily looks at a good experience, a good quality end product delivered within the budget without cost overruns, and delivered on time, because obviously the customer will then take that product and use it for further enhancing his business. So delivering on time is very important. The internal stakeholder is primarily focused on making sure that every engagement you embark on is successful from a delivery perspective and is also successful from a revenue perspective. So you're able to, commit to the revenues that you have committed month on month, so that your forecasting will work out well, and you're also able to get the required profitability to help the organization grow. So these are the two key stakeholders. The first 2 points which we looked at, that is consistency and customer experience, is primarily related to the customer stakeholders. There are many more such points that will enable the customer stakeholder experience to be better, but we are focused on two important ones. And the next two, which we are going to see, that is related to resources and related to the forecasting and the profitability part, is related to the internal stakeholders. So it makes sure that you're not going to have a lot of people sitting idle in the organization. You're not going to have a scenario where a lot of people are overburdened with work. They're working 150%, 170%, 180%. And you're also not in a situation where you needed a specific skill for a very specific organization, for a very specific project, which is a very critical client. The skill was not available in the location of your preference, but that skill was available in some other location. But instead of utilizing that skill that was available and who was sitting idle, you went and made another hire. And that will obviously add to the cost to the organization. So these are some of the common problems which we have seen across our customers. And what we do provide is a mechanism where you can build your resource profile within the application. You can define the skills accurately and appropriately for each and every resource who are in the organization. And when a project gets initiated, it is very important for the project team to specify what are the skills they require for that particular project. Now, in many cases, that visibility is not given to all stakeholders. It is only given to very limited stakeholders, or it is not captured properly. But what if, as you see here, I say that in this project, I need resources with React.js skills, and I need 5 of them. I need them from a specific location. I need them from this date to this date. I need them 100% or 50%. What if you're able to specify that? And then it goes to a pool where they are able to see the request that has come across projects. And then they can pick up a request, they can see the details, and then you invoke a search. Now, this search will basically tell you whether you have a resource with the exact fit within the organization. And if he is there in the organization, is he available? And if he's not available, on which project he's working on at this point of time, and when he is likely to be released. So you can see that a score is getting generated. So which means that most of the requirements that is required is being fulfilled by this resource. So you can take a call whether, whatever is not being compliant, whether I can compromise on that. And if that is fine, you can get him allocated. So this is a very smart way in which you will be able to identify resources with the right skills, with the right quantity, and get them allocated to the projects. Now, suppose you are not able to find resources with the right skills, then you have a neighboring skill, a person who can still work on that project. You can do a search based on that. And after all these, then you can take a call saying that, okay, there is a gap and we need to fulfill that gap through external hires. So that is the first part that I wanted to highlight, the ability to clearly specify what is required so that the relevant stakeholders will understand what is required for the project. You may be a 1,000-man organization, a 100-man organization, 5,000-man organization, but you're able to identify where the resource with that specific skill or a resource with a nearby skill is available. And you can look at his availability, you can see if he needs a training, and then based on that, get him allocated to the project. Now, that is one aspect of what we offer. The second aspect, which is also very important, is let us say that you want to just do a search, which will basically help you understand how my resources are utilized. Now you can see here are the overburdened resources. Here you can see that, okay, there are some resources available over here with capacity. Which projects they're currently working on? Can I release them from that project so that I can fully utilize them to another project? Or I can basically then take to another view, which will basically tell me at any point of time, okay, what is my demand that has come across projects? And wherever there is a red indicator, it means that there is a shortfall. So like say, for example, you need 15 mobile app developers in the month of July for a project that is getting into the mobile module development. You will be able to see sitting in the month of March whether all my mobile app developers are fully occupied in the month of July. If they are, can I make some adjustments here or there, or whether I need to go for an external hire and make sure that resources are there, and that will not be a bottleneck in delivering my project to customers on time and within budget. The next important aspect that I wanted to highlight, which is to a certain extent going into the next point, is so we have various ways in which once a resource has been defined, set up in a project, there are various ways in which you will be able to assign tasks to the resource. So you'll be able to see the availability and then assign tasks to the resource. So if you're following a pure play agile framework, then you can define your user stories, you can set up your to-dos, you can assign them to resources based on what is required for the project. Or we have a mechanism, if you're following a waterfall project, you can create a project plan and assign tasks. But what we wanted to highlight is at any point of time, when the resource logs into the system, even on his mobile app, he can even log into his mobile app, he or she will be able to see all the projects where they are currently allocated. It could be single or multiple projects where they are allocated, and within those projects, the task that has been assigned to them. So, and based on that, they will be able to enter time. Now, we do provide capabilities where you can enter the actual time, you can enter the billable time. So all those functionality is available in the system. But basically what we are trying to highlight over here is there is no additional processing that needs to be done. The moment a task has been assigned, you can see it on your mobile app, you can see it on your inbox, you can see it on your time tracking tool. And if the resource wants to report the actual effort, if it is a T&M engagement or a fixed price, if they want to, they will be able to enter it against that specific time, a specific task that has been assigned to them. And there are methods in which it can be reviewed, approved, and then it can get into the project costing, the invoicing, the billing part of the project lifecycle. But what we are highlighting over here is all resources, you will be able to identify the right resource, you will be able to see how your capacity is being utilized, and resources in a very seamless manner will be able to report their time against tasks that has been assigned to them. And with that, we will now quickly, I know we are on top of the hour, move to the last point. So Mahesh, any further comments?
I think we have sort of covered this in terms of the ability to give visibility to teams and to stakeholders in terms of budgets, in terms of forecasts, and in terms of ensuring that at all times teams are sort of aware of profitability and other relevant metrics in the system. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
I'll just take 2 minutes,
Sure.
and I think we can wrap it up with that. The point that I wanted to highlight is you are having multiple projects. They could be fixed bid, they could be T&M. We have methods wherein which you will be able to capture the cost rates, the billing rates of resources based on role, based on location. You will be able to, if it is like, say, for example, if it is a fixed price project, you'll be able to set up your revenue milestones. You'll be able to track them to tasks or user stories if you are following an agile framework. So there are a lot of constructs that is available in the system, which basically helps you to accurately model the financial aspect of a project from an execution perspective. And once that has been done, then all that end user needs to do is update his task, update his time, and it will weave into the platform and capture the relevant financial outputs. Now, what you see here is at a higher level, I will be able to choose my business verticals. Then I will be able to generate a report which is going to show me what has been my forecasted revenue for the next 4 months for a particular project. So you can see the current, based on the date range that you have set up, you'll be able to see the forecasting related. So you'll see what has been the revenue that has been recognized, and you will also be able to see what is the forecast that is for the future months, which will basically give you some visibility in terms of how you need to plan your financials. We also provide an ability wherein you can get very accurate planned versus actual views. So like, say, for example, if this is a T&M project, what was the planned budget for a solution architect? And what is the planned revenue? What is the actuals? What is the actual revenue? What is the forecast value? So you will be able to get that view within the system. And I'll just, I know we are on top of the hour, but I'll just show you one last view where you will also be able to, on a month-on-month basis, accurately see what was forecasted to be consumed in this month, what was the actual billing that was done this month, and this can then lead you to profitability gaps and various other aspects of a particular project or of a particular engagement. So it is not just setting up your project from a delivery perspective which addresses the customer needs. It is also about setting up your projects from an internal stakeholder perspective to make sure that profitability goals are being met. And when these two stakeholders are satisfied, then your ability to deliver the project on schedule and within budget, and thereby define it as successful, is going to be significantly high, or it will improve over a period of time. So that's it from our side, Mahesh.
Thanks, Mano, for kind of hurrying through the last part. Folks, I know we got a few questions already, but if you have other questions related to what you saw or any other aspect of project delivery challenges that you'd like to highlight, please feel free to use the Q&A box to ask those questions. But Linza, I know that we have a few questions already. Can we go through those? I know we are already over time in terms of the 45 minutes, and we always overrun, unfortunately, but there is so much to cover, which is crucial for a lot of our audience. So hopefully this is still useful. Yeah, go ahead, Linza.
All right. So yes, we already use Slack. Does Nimble integrate with Slack or replace Slack? So this is a question that has been asked.
So Nimble has
Mano, you want to? Yeah,
Nimble has inbuilt collaboration capabilities. Nimble also has its own built-in bot. It also has a collaboration framework. We have seen customers leveraging our collaboration capability fully. But then if there is a Slack or a Microsoft Teams in an ecosystem, we have been able to integrate with such channels as well. So if you have Slack or if you have Microsoft Teams, we have the ability to integrate with such channels to make sure that you can still collaborate with your project teams based on the various tasks and activities which you have planned using those channels.
Yeah, and what I love about our integration with these tools is that it can capture discussions and comments in context. So which means if you're discussing things related to a task or related to an issue or a risk, then those things can be captured back in the actual risk item or the work item that is defined in Nimble. So it makes it very seamless in terms of the way that you can look at the full history of a particular task that is done and the discussion that may have happened around that.
All right. Moving on. How easy is it to use Nimble's timesheet? We already have a timesheet system, but it is not very effective. Does not provide sufficient details.
So one of the module that gets rolled out first for all our customers is our timesheet. One of the module that is extremely easy to use again is a timesheet, because you don't have to enter anything. It is all visible over there based on your assignments. And we also provide a mobile interface for our timesheet module. So which means that if you're traveling or if you're on the move, you need not open your application. You will be able to update your time through the mobile interface. Now, one of the biggest benefits of the Nimble timesheet, again, we have seen a lot of customers who have migrated from their timesheeting system to our system. One of the biggest benefits of Nimble's timesheet is you're able to capture effort at a granular level task that has been assigned to you. It is not at a WBS code or at a phase level. It is at the actual execution granular task that has been assigned to you. Now you may say that is that an overkill? That is not an overkill. That has helped a lot of organizations, because over a period of time, that data is being used for you to, confidently estimate for your future projects. We have a customer who is still our customer, and their case study is there in our website. If any one of you are interested, we'll be very happy to share it with you. We have a customer who used our system, who went into the granular tracking of tasks and entering time at a granular level. And they have been able to say, they have given us a business value which they have been able to derive, where they say that in all their current RFPs, they have been able, in close to 80% of the RFPs which they address, they have been able to accurately estimate the cost. They have been able to accurately estimate the cost and the efforts because of the data which has been available in Nimble and which has been provided by the Nimble system. Any comments from you, Mahesh?
No, I think you covered it well.
All right. So does Nimble provide budgeting and financials? Does it integrate with other third-party systems?
So the budgeting and financial modules can be set up in Nimble. We have seen that happening across our customer basis, but we also have the ability to integrate with third-party financials and ERP systems. We have the REST API and webhook framework exposed. We have had cases where a budget is planned in Nimble, but the actual cost against that budgeted line item is being fetched from a ERP system, because procurement happens in an ERP system. So you don't have to come and re-enter the actual value. You have the budgeted value in Nimble. The actual value gets pulled in from a external ERP application. So we have done such integrations. And to answer the question, it is possible to track budgets in Nimble. It is also possible to make sure that we are able to integrate with external applications so that the data flow between the applications is seamless.
I just want to add to that almost all of our implementations involve delivering a solution that encompasses the project and work management aspects with people and resource management and the budgeting and financial side of things. So whether we are delivering that through our own products or through integration with other third-party solutions or in-house solutions that our customers have, we have a very strong professional services arm and partners that help our customers ensure that they get full value from the solution that is being that is delivered to them. So we really are able to, provide a very tailored solution to our customers that really ensure that they are able to get the maximum ROI from the investment, all of the investment that goes into implementing such a system, not just the license cost, but also all of the learning and the change management costs that organizations bear. I think we are at the bottom of the hour or top of the hour, depending on where you are. So let's wind up here. And I just wanted to share the last slide with our contact information so that we can. Linda, can you share that slide, or Manu, can you
Yes.
share that slide? Yeah, so that all of you who have been on this very patiently through the entire session, if you have any follow-up questions or would like more information, you can connect with us. Feel free to come to our website and learn more about our setup. But of course, we'd love to hear from you. So please do, connect with us if you'd like to. We will be sharing a recording of the webinar, so you will have the full content of the webinar and the information here available to you in that as well. Thanks a lot, Mano. Great session as usual. Linda, thanks. And thank you all to the audience for attending today's session. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks with the next in our series of these sessions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all.